Nation. The hobby is the people. Weekly news and interviews. It's your number one source. Sports Card Nation. The hobby is the people. Sports Card Nation.
Welcome to another stocked and loaded episode of the Sports Card Nation podcast, the show that brings you all the important hobby news, discussions, debates, opinions, info, and interviews with key hobby and sports dignitaries. Also, if you're good, you know we are going to give away something. Now, here's the guy that wanted the cards more than the gum. John Newman.
This is Sports
Card Nation. Episode 85. We're back again another week. Thanks for joining us. We have an awesome guest, Matt Taylor, all the way from the UK. A little time zone difference, but he made some time for us in the show. Obviously one of the artists on the Topps 2020 project, but you may have seen some of his work even before that Topps 2020 project, as he has done some incredible movie poster work, illustrations and comic books, band posters and cover art, and very talented. It's funny, when I was researching about him to learn a little bit more about him, some of the movie posters that I saw that he did, I've seen before, but didn't even realize that it was his work. So you've probably seen his work, not realizing he's the man behind that awesome art. So he's going to be on the show. We're going to talk about his career, how he got involved in the Topps 2020 project. I'm going to ask him a couple specific questions to, what his mindset on a couple of the cards that I was curious about. And great interview, and good guy, and made some time, even though the 5 or 6 hour time zone difference. And we appreciate Matt. We appreciate him doing that. So if you're a follower of the show, either in podcast form or social media form, I'm sure you're well aware, and I really wanted to move past it, but in what I'm about to say, it relates to that. We lost our longtime family dog, Mocha, about 3 weeks ago. Very tough, always will be, but, initially very tough. This house was in rough shape, and, at the time we weren't thinking about the next dog or if there would be a next dog. Well, if you follow us on social media, we do have a new puppy. We decided, or my wife and my son, I always knew I was going to get another dog at some point. My wife and son kind of said no dogs, it can't replace Mocha. And I get it, when you lose a pet, you almost feel guilty if you get another pet after him, and I get all that. But, my wife said the house is too quiet, and she liked coming home to someone excited to see her when she walked through that door after work. That wasn't going to be me.
Hey now.
And she wanted another dog in the house, not to replace, obviously, our prior dog, but, we had a lot of love in our hearts to share with a pet. We were missing that companionship, everyone in this household, and, she wanted to rescue a dog this time, and we have a local rescue dog place here. They do great work. They're called Helping Hounds here in the Syracuse area, and they get once every week they get a truck of dogs from out of states that have too many dogs, and this truck was from Texas. And the next truck is Alabama. The next truck will be Texas and Alabama again. It alternates every week. Helping Hounds does great things saving these dogs, and we were fortunate enough to get one of them. Actually, the puppy of the bunch, one of the youngest ones on the truck at 10 weeks. It's a Australian cattle dog, beautiful puppy. doing great so far. He's been here at the time of this intro about 5 days and doing very well. We love him. And he had a name which we changed. His original name was Jeter. We're not keeping that. And we didn't keep that. I'm not a Yankee fan. Not a huge Jeter guy. And so his name is now Kane. And speaking of Kane, a few people, I know I posted about him on social media, and a few people, and even a couple family members of mine said, John, why don't you do like a blog of him or, a daily log post about him with pictures. He's the cutest thing, and, you don't want to see me, but no doubt the dog's a lot cuter than me. So we created a webpage for him. It's called Chronicles of Kane with the K, Chronicles with a K of Kane, and it's actually on the Sports Card Nation website. He's got his own page on the site itself. So if you go to www.sportscardnation.net, N-E-T, look at the top or the menu, and you'll see Chronicles of Kane. You can click on that, and maybe once a day I'll post something as if he's writing it and talking about how things are going here. And so, it's nice to have the love of a pet and to give love to a pet, and in this case, save a dog that may be, needing a forever home. And we're glad to have him. He's not Mocha, and he's not meant to be Mocha. He's Kane. And I didn't want to, go off. This is a sports card podcast. I get it, but we're all human beings. Sometimes I share some of my personal stuff on the show. In this case, with the loss of Mocha and the addition of Kane here 3 or 4 weeks later, I think it's important to show the human side of us and that we all have. And so a lot of people were very encouraging in both areas, the loss of Mocha and finally deciding to get back on the horse again, so to speak, and save a puppy. And we're glad to have Kane. I thank everybody for showing good sentiments and thoughts of encouragement and the like. So check out Kane's webpage, Chronicles of Kane, on the Sports Card Nation website. Time for this week's incoming product releases. All right, on the 17th of July, we have 2 releases, 2019 Leaf Trinity Baseball and 2020 Leaf Greatest Hits Multi-Sport Edition. On the 22nd, we have, I believe, 5 releases. 2020 Topps Sterling Baseball, 2020 Historic Autographs Big League Photos Autographed Edition Baseball, also 2019-20 Upper Deck Premier Hockey, 2020 Panini Donruss Optic Baseball, and 2020 Upper Deck Goodwin Champions. On the 24th, we have 2020 Leaf Ultimate Wrestling.
Sports Card Nation Podcast is your weekly hobby and sports podcast. Now on tons of platforms including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, and many more. Listened to in 44 different countries globally, Sports Card Nation is one of the most interactive podcasts around, providing great content, giveaways, and some of the hobby's best interview guests without time constraints. Thousands can't be wrong. We want to thank all the wonderful listeners around the world, our awesome guests on the show, and our tremendous sponsors making us what we are today. Remember, without you, there's no us.
It's time for What's Cracking. All right, a raid in Michigan by the FBI has yielded one of the largest art and sports memorabilia forgers may be in history, according to Steve Grad. Donald D.B. Henkel was the target of the FBI raid. He had a 4,000 foot square barn where he skillfully did his forgeries, and some of these forgeries, including autographed baseball memorabilia, actually fooled the grading and authenticators, including PSA. They believe he's been doing it for almost 20 years. Some of the items reportedly forged: a Babe Ruth bat, Lou Gehrig bat, Babe Ruth autographs, and much, much more. Christy Mathewson baseballs. He had basically a forgery factory. They're calling the 4,000 foot square foot barn a forgery factory, including artwork too. A New York City art gallery apparently spent $500,000 on paintings that are linked to Mr. Henkel. So this is a huge bust, if you will, a huge crackdown. He hasn't been officially arrested yet, but this has been going on according to those in the know since the early 2000s. So one less person pumping that fake material into the hobby, and a huge one at that. So kudos to the FBI for getting it done. There's one heck of an item hitting the auction market: a full sealed factory case of 1986-87 Fleer basketball, insane, sealed. Jeremy Frisch of Frisch Cards out of Wisconsin is the owner, at least temporarily, as it is on auction at Collect Auctions. The last I knew, bidding was over $1 million, and they're not done. You're going to pull out, whoever gets it is looking at having a shot at 40 Gem Mint Jordans in that case, and 36 Gem Mint potential rookie sticker Jordans. And that's just the Jordan. Obviously, if you know about that product, as most do, you've got Barkley rookies, Olajuwon rookies, Ewing rookies, and don't forget my man, Chris Mullin. That's his rookie year as well. And if any of those things kind of gem 10 and whatnot, you're looking at major money. I guess the big question is, what's the bidding going to end up at? Is it going to hit the $2 million mark? And whoever wins this auction, what are their plans for the case? Are they going to rip it all open? Are they going to rip half, sell half, or market sealed boxes? Are they going to keep it closed and just try to make a profit off their investment? So many questions. Is the winning bidder going to identify themselves, or is it going to be privatized? A lot of things. I'm very intrigued by this. The last time a case like this kind of saw the air we breathed was in the 1990s. So it's been over 30 years almost since we saw this case. And this case, quite frankly, right now, we don't know what's, in someone's attic or back room, but right now it's the only sealed case known to be in existence that's known. And so a lot of questions to be answered. Going to be fun to watch to see what this auction winds up ending at. At the time of this recording, the high bid is $1,288,000 and some change. So 1.2 million with time left. So it will be interesting again to see what this thing winds up closing at. All right, if you know anything about me, you know I don't open a lot of wax. Matter of fact, I hardly open any, and that there's a reason for that. We'll save that long explanation for another time, but I don't open a lot of wax. You've also known me that I sometimes will be critical of the card companies for making products that are just extra bonus products. I call them money grabs. And, here's one that some might think some money grab, and believe it or not, I like it. And it's a online exclusive product from Topps. It's the Topps Finest Flashback, based on the 1993 Finest Baseball release that I fondly remember very well. At the time in 1993, yes, I'm old, I had my card shop, my brick and mortar card shop. And I remember this was one of those first products, thinking back to the 1993 Finest. This is one of those first products that was really high-end, premium, shiny, thicker stock. Then you get those 2 refractors per box, and it was a hotcake seller. I remember we couldn't keep them on the shelves. I remember going on the primitive message boards at the time and asking to buy more boxes. I remember buying them off people walking into the store who had bought them, hadn't opened them yet, and doubled their money. It was very high end. It was I remember something like $15 to $20 a pack, and so it was insane. And when you look back at it now, 1993, the Finest, really not a big rookie selection in it. Piazza, some people consider it sort of a rookie card, but he was in 92 Bowman. But the cards were fantastic, and it was really the first product from a major brand to test the market as far as how expensive are people willing to pay for a pack. And at $20, we hear that now and we think $20 a pack, that's light work, right? But back then in 1993, this product was insane. I remember we had gotten a case of it from Topps, me and my partner in the store, and we were debating, do we sell some? Do we sell it all? Do we open some? And I can't remember how many in the case, but I remember me and my partner in the store agreed to, obviously we bought the case for the store, and we agreed to open, I believe, a couple boxes apiece as personal boxes. And honestly, I don't remember what I pulled, but it was a fun rip, and seeing those cards for the first time, and that shiny chrome that we all are very familiar with in today's day and age. But back, in 1993, if you were around and in the cards, that was sort of a game breaker, a game changer. And, so when Topps announced they were doing this retro Finest set with today's players based on the 93 design and offering it exclusively initially to Montgomery 582 members, I was excited more than I probably would normally be for an extra product, if you will. And I got my 3 boxes. And again, if you've heard me talk before, you've heard me say that I generally will buy this stuff just to flip and resell and make some money, to be quite frank with you, like Bowman Sapphire, 2019 Bowman Draft Sapphire. And what I got 3 boxes. I can almost, this is something I'm going to open at least one, most likely 2, and I can't guarantee I won't open the third. I'm definitely going to open at least 1 box, see what I think of the product. If depending on my reaction and my vibe and the feeling, I'll rip open the second box and maybe keep that third one closed. If I really, really, really love the product and it's yielding what I believe is a decent return, I'll go ahead and maybe even open that third box. That's something I rarely do, but maybe this just hit a sentimental nerve, from my store days in 93 and remembering the original product. And so they Topps hit me all up in the feels with this release. Talk about the product itself and stop going Google Gaga over sentimental stuff, which it is. I'm really surprised at the price point that Topps released it at. So at $55 a box, there's 18 packs, 5 cards a pack. So you're going to get 90 cards out of this product for $55. I think I hope, I hope I don't change their mindset in future release. I think that's actually a great price point, and I thought I expected it actually to be a little more. Unlike the original product, which had 2 refractors in the box, this will have 1 refractor in the box, and that refractors are going to, unlike the original where it was just that pretty much that silver or hollow refractor, there's going to be different variations. We're going to have gold refractors numbered to 50. Those average 1 per box. We're going to have black refractors to 25, 1 every 2 boxes. We're going to have red refractors numbered to only 5, 1 in 176 packs. And the 101, as we all know, super refractors, 1 in 880 packs. And so I'm really looking forward to opening this. I know, check my temperature. There must be something wrong with me, but I really am, and I may open all 3. I don't know yet, but it's going to be a fun rip. Kind of take me back, to 27 years ago, and 20-year-old me in my card store, and also, there's going to be 1 box topper in each box with a jumbo card. So I forgot to mention that. The set is 199 cards. And, again, I can't wait to get it. I will definitely video it for the YouTube channel, if you will. There is autographs in it as well, but those are 1 in 108 packs. So they're not common, about 1 every 6 boxes there, and even the autographs have all the parallels to refractors to 20, gold refractors to 15, orange to 10, red to 5, and your super refractor 101. Obviously, the nice thing, unlike the 93 version, which had very little rookies and ones that didn't pan out anyway, the 2020 edition obviously has your Gavin Luxes and your Jordan Alvarez's and those guys. And again, you rarely hear me rave about sort of that one-off product, but this one really got me in my solar plexus and went right to a great time in my hobby life. 1993 with my card store and Topps Finest, one of the first premium products ever to hit the market in 1993. So there you go. I'm excited. I don't know if you are. I hope you are. The other thing too, besides opening it, it's going to probably be a product where I go on your sports lots and other sites and try to buy some singles as well. I'm all in on this product, which is a rare stance for me. But there you go. One of One Card Shop offers a tremendous breaking experience, great customer service, and they're constantly pulling fire. Steve and his family take care of you like one of their own and treat you right. Anyone can break, but no one treats you like One of One. Come check them out on Instagram at one_of_one_card_shop. For all the hot breaks, get a gold mailer headed your way.
I know the chunky that left these chunkies. Newman! Open the door, Newman. I know you're in there.
Hello, Jerry. All right, it's time for Newman's Rambling, where I select one question I get each week and answer it on the air.
John, you seem like an astute man.
Thank you, Mr. Walken.
Maybe you can help explain something to me.
Well, I'll give it my best shot. The question I selected for the Newman Rambling section here was one I actually get asked every so often. And for whatever reason, this week I got asked by 3 separate people on a combination of Instagram and Twitter. And so I figured, man, I'm asked it 3 times separately. I'm going to save that for the segment. So the question is, why do I like graded cards so much? And I mean, that's just sort of a a loaded question. I could probably do. I have done a whole show on hobby quick hits about grading, but to answer that question in a more succinct and shorter answer is it just enhances the value of the card, especially obviously with a better grade. You can take something like a Jordan Alvarez Topps 2020. It's a $5 to $7 card, right? And if that thing gets a BGS, PSA, or SGC 10, that's going to be, a fourth, anywhere from $35 to $50, maybe even more. And again, he's a young player. And so if he continues on the trajectory that many feel he will, that card's actually could be $100, $200, could be in the ilk of the Acuna Topps update, that sort of thing. And so graded cards, to me, are just, whether you like them or not, they're just an important part of this hobby. It's obviously here to stay. It's not going away, whether you participate in it or not. If you've heard how I've originally viewed grading, I thought it was a fad. I thought it was going away quickly, and I thought it was nonsensical, and I was wrong. And I went from that to where I'm at now, which is a good portion of my inventory is graded cards, and having an incredible 2020, selling cards in general, and the graded sales I made, including this week. If you follow the show on social media, I talked about selling some big money cards this week, all in 1 week. And so the hobby's booming. Graded cards are a huge portion of that hobby. They're a huge part of what I do, buying and selling, especially this week. And I sold, I think double digits in graded and slab cards, and significant ones at that. This was I didn't see it coming. I'm not sure, why, but just an incredible selling week, and very blessed, very fortunate. And grading cards, and without getting into super specifics, some of those cards I've sold this week, I bought that original card for maybe $5-10, paid the $10 to get it graded. It graded well, and that card sold for $600-700. So think about that. $20 investment, right? I paid $10 for the card. I paid $10 for the grading on average. I mean, it can vary, 10 to 15, but let's call it 10 with mass submissions, which I do. And so that $20 investment between card and slabbing, and I sell that card for $700. One card, right? That's how many times? I mean, 50 times almost? About 38 times or whatever. I mean, 380% or whatever it cracks up to be. I mean, that's insane. And with grading, without grading, that card, instead of being $700 raw, instead of that graded 10, it's probably a couple $100. And so that's the difference to me. Is it just, and there's certain cards. I mean, there's certain cards I won't touch raw anymore. Trout update, Jordan rookie, and a lot of these fakes are getting really good, and I won't touch them. I used to, it's funny. I used to be I don't want to be cocky, but an expert at just, you could give me 20 Jordan rookies and 7 of them are phonies and 13 are real. I'd pull the 7 phonies out each and every time, and I don't think I can do that anymore, because some of these forgers and Fugazi card makers are getting really, really, really good, unfortunately. And I don't trust myself anymore with those, and I don't trust people selling them. They may even think it's real themselves. They may not be trying to pull the wool over me, but they got rooked, and now they're trying to sell it. They don't even know it's not real because it's not graded, right? And so there's certain cards I won't touch with a 10-foot pole in raw condition, even if I think they're real. And about 4 months ago, I actually bought a card from a person, and I really was on the fence. It was a raw card to its authenticity. I kind of agreed on the price, but I really got cold feet because I thought there was an outside chance that it could be a phony. And so I made a deal with the person that I did buy the card. I said, listen, I'm about to send these cards in for grading. I'll pay this if it's real, no matter what it grades. If it's obviously not real, I'll pay for the grading, the submission. If it comes back obviously not real, I'll give it back to you. I'm not going to buy it. If it comes back as genuine, regardless of what it grades at, whether it's a 10, an 8, or 7, here's the price we agree on it. And I made that deal and submitted that card, and turns out it was genuine, and I purchased it. And I'm not getting into specifics of the card or the person, but and I've done deals like that in past years as well. And so there's a lot of people with equipment and technology now that are really doing an incredible job in a bad sort of way of making these phony cards look so close to the original real ones that it's very hard to tell. And kudos to the graders. I know I bag on them sometimes, but kudos to them that they can find these as accurately as they generally do, because it's getting tougher and tougher on them as the bad guys get better and better. So that's my 7-minute answer on grading. I've done longer segments on it before, but it's a huge part of what I do. Will be to the very end. I understand some people don't like it, don't partake in it, and that, again, folks, is the beauty of this hobby. To each their own. No one's wrong and no one's right. Whatever works for you. Grading works for me. All right, real happy to have my next guest on the One of One Card Shop guest line. He comes all the way from across the pond, as they say, in the UK. He's widely acclaimed even before the Topps 2020 project that he's working on now. We're going to talk about some of that other stuff as well, but I don't want to make him wait any longer. Welcome, Matt Taylor, to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on.
And you're welcome. And appreciate you making time. Being we're in different time zones and what have you. I mean, you've done a lot of stuff, and it's funny. You're an illustrator. You've done comic book work. You've done movie, illustrations, and it's funny. I'm not going to lie. I've seen some of your stuff, not even knowing it was your stuff, and I'm sure a lot of other folks probably the same thing. I've seen, your work with Lion King, Star Wars, Back to the Future 2, a lot of Marvel stuff, Rolex, ESPN, music groups and bands and the like. I mean, credentials more than meet the criteria. Talk a little bit about, I know I said stuff, but obviously it's your career. I might have left something off, but just talk about kind of, where you got your start and that sort of thing.
Well, I mean, I always put down on my Twitter bio is I drew that thing you like, and that tends to cover that covers a lot of bases, because a lot of people have seen my work but don't necessarily know it was mine. But I mean, I've been illustrating now for getting on 20 years since I graduated, and I didn't actually study illustration at university. I started out in advertising and realised pretty quickly that I didn't want to do advertising at all.
Yeah.
So I'd always drawn fun as a kid, and I was pretty good at it, but I never realised it was something you could actually do as a career, just to draw things. And I guess it was only once I sort of thought, okay, let's see if this is something I can do. You kind of look around, and then you realise how much illustration there is in the world around you. just from like, I guess when I was starting to think about being an illustrator, it was looking at kind of book covers and thinking, oh, those are all drawn, so someone had to draw them. And I mean, I started out doing kind of posters for small gigs for friends' bands, and like little. I was lucky enough to get a shot doing editorial spots for a science magazine in the UK, because this was back in probably 2001, 2002. So the internet was there, but it wasn't
what we know it today.
Media.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did promotional postcards, and I used to go into newsagents and look through magazines I liked for the names of art directors in the masthead, and then try and find their address and send them a postcard that just had a message on the back saying, "Hi, I'm an illustrator. Here's an example of my work. Do you want to hire me?" And that was basically it. And that kind of got my foot in the door. And then it was just a case of kind of plugging away at it for a long time and doing a lot of small jobs that no one saw. And then it kind of snowballed, and I got a gig working for Penguin Books. I won a competition basically to do a cover for something, and the guy who judged the competition was a senior art director at Penguin, and he, a couple years later, got in touch with me about doing the covers for the writer John le Carré's new paperback. Mm-hmm. He wrote Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy and The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. This one. And so at the time, they were thinking about maybe doing like a relaunch of his whole line of books, because he'd recently just come over to Penguin. And so I did one cover as a kind of test, and it sold really well, and people responded to it. So they asked me to do another one, and it just kind of, that was like the real start of my career, and that was about 2007, I think, 2007, 2008. And some of that work caught the eye of the guys at Mondo, who are one of my big clients who specialise in kind of pop culture, ephemera, and alternate movie posters, and board games, and toys, and all sorts of cool stuff. And they really, I kind of credit them with bringing my work to like a huge audience, because they had like an enormous following that, like, even at the time it was big, and like now it's huge. Yeah. And from the movie posters I did with them, that's led to work with Marvel, doing stuff with the Star Wars franchises. It's all kind of sprung from there. Like over the last 5 or 6 years, my work has definitely drifted like really towards artwork for the movie industry. So yeah, lots of movie posters, lots of promotional stuff. I recently, I did the artwork for the closing credits of Scoob, the animated movie that came out a few weeks ago. Yeah. I worked with an animation studio based in LA, and I drew these 10 like big expansive drawings, and then they took them away and animated them into like the closing credit sequence.
That's cool.
Absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And like, it was a real shame that we didn't get to see it on the big screen, because obviously coronavirus. And it went straight to VOD, but it's still an incredible thing to see the drawings. I kind of sat in my my girlfriend's apartment drawing, and then to see them like on the big screen as a kind of fully moving. I think it's fantastic.
Brought right to life.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know you worked in a design studio. I read this, that you did work in a design studio when you determined like this isn't, you were doing freelance work also on the side, and you just, you realized, you wanted to do that. That was more your style than being, let's say, in an office setting, kind of tamed, and you kind of just wanted to do your own thing, and obviously you went and did that, doing congratulations, doing very well. And talking to even some of the other artists on the project, they have, I noticed a lot of similar threads. They were doing something, and then they just said, this isn't me, I'm not enjoying this isn't ultimately, and they just took a chance. They kind of jumped off the ledge, so to speak, sort of in the unknown, and obviously all of the artists on the project, even before Tops came up, into the picture, you were doing pretty well. But I thought that's a pretty cool common thread that a majority of you share, including yourself.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I think a lot of illustrators and a lot of designers, everyone has a day job to start with, because you can't really just like launch straight into being an illustrator.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're lucky enough to come from a background where you've got, you know, support, or like if you're starting out and you're young, you can live at home still. That's great. But like when you've got the rent to pay, and you know you're getting like one illustration job a month that's paying, say, a few $100, like you can't live on that. So I mean, I managed a shoe shop. I worked for the National Park Service for a little bit. I worked in another shoe shop. Like I had a whole host of jobs whilst I was kind of like starting out in illustration. But yeah, I actually, the design studio I worked in, they got in touch with me when I was already freelancing for a little while, and they liked what I did. It's a studio called I Love Dust. They do absolutely incredible work, and they've done incredible work for like probably almost 20 years now.
Yeah.
But they brought me in because they wanted to bring my style into their kind of portfolio, and it was a great place to work in some respects because like the work ethic was incredible, and you just had to like just produce work quickly because they had so much work and so many clients. You didn't really have time to dawdle, and like I credit them with the work ethic I have now, because beforehand I would kind of take my time on a project. You know, deadlines on Sunday, I'd start work on the Friday.
Yeah.
Whereas I came out the other side of that, and like I get briefs in now, and I look at them. It's like, right, I'm starting this immediately, so I can get done early, so I can get on to the next thing. But yeah, like you said, at the end of the day, I sort of realised that partly I wanted to take credit for the work I did, because all the work I did there had to come under the kind of moniker of I Love Dust, and I was really proud of it, and I really wanted to say, look at this thing I did.
Yeah.
And it's a bit narcissistic, but I think that's the...
No, I think a lot of, Matt, I think a lot of people would feel that way. I know I agree with you. You know, if you're putting in the work and effort and doing it and building something from the ground up, you want to be recognized. I think that's human nature. I don't even think you have to apologize for that. I think a good percentage of people would feel exactly the same way, and I got a feeling when people hear this, they're probably nodding their head wherever they're at when we're talking about it. And so, no, I think that's normal. I don't think you have to apologize for that, and I definitely wholeheartedly agree, and I can understand that for sure.
Yeah, and I think it is a fairly common route with design studios, is that you'll get to a certain point and you'll think, oh, I want to be the boss. You know, I want to do my thing. And it's pretty scary because, you know, you work in design studio, you have a monthly salary and you have security. And when you step out on your own, you know, you're
taking that risk
for yourself. But I mean, I Love Dust has launched the careers of so many artists. Like, even when I was there, there were probably 5 or 6 illustrators from the time I was working who are now like hugely successful in their own right. And it's like, it's a really good incubator. And there's a kind of balance between staff who've stayed there, and you know that environment provides them with exactly what they want. And there are other artists who will kind of always see it as a stepping stone onto like maybe doing their own thing down the line. And you know, both routes are sort of equally valid. But at a certain point, I realised it wasn't the right environment for me, and I didn't want to not enjoy my work. So yeah, so at that point I became self-employed again, and that was kind of when things kind of started to level up in terms of working with clients, and I definitely benefited from having worked at I Love Dust as well, because their work's incredible, and their client, you know, they do a lot of Nike's motion graphics and advertising, and you will have seen their work even if you don't know them. I think I'm pretty sure Grotesque, who's one of the other artists on Project 2020, has worked with them quite a bit, because I know he's a design director at Nike. Was. So yeah, it's quite a small industry. Like, there's common links everywhere.
Yeah, and that's the neat thing. And it's nice to hear you even talk about, you know, I Love Dust in a positive way, that you left, you know, you've moved on and doing your own work, but you still can look back fondly at your time there. It wasn't necessarily a messy divorce like sometimes other people can attest to.
Messy at the time,
but time heals. Sometimes time heals some wounds and whatnot. But you're doing your own thing. I also read this. I found interesting too. If you know, it's true that you try to really have weekends off where you don't do any work. Is that number one? Is that true? And is it 100%, or is sometimes it's just you have no choice and you have to break the rule?
It varies. I certainly used to. I used to be a lot better. I would say now I do have a slight tendency to fall back into working weekends and evenings. But my daughters live with my ex-partner, and so they often come at the weekend. So when they're here, it's just work. Yeah, it's just them.
Yeah.
But obviously the weekends they're not. I sort of sometimes take advantage of that extra time to just finish something off. But I think it's really important to have designated days off, because otherwise you can just run yourself into the ground and burn yourself out pretty quickly.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that goes with any career, any kind of profession. I know, even talking to Tyson Beck last week, he had some health scares when he was just overworking himself, and he had to pivot and adjust kind of what he does just for his own well-being. And when I hear someone say that they sort of have a regimen or something that works for them, I always think that's good, because like you said, if you don't, you run that risk of maybe getting ill or coming burnt, and forget even just illness, but just wearing yourself thin, maybe getting burnt out from what you're doing, and affect how you feel about your own profession. And it sounds like you've kind of have a good balance. Like you said, your daughters come over and it's dad time, and it's good to hear that as a dad too, myself, that they're going to have you in their life, and that's important. Obviously, you know that as well. So we're going to step aside for a quick break, but when we come back, more with Matt Taylor. The Star Stock selling platform is fully live and fully functional. It's fast becoming one of the premier sports card marketplaces. They aim to be the fastest, most efficient place to buy and sell your cards. They offer no ingestion fees. They do all the legwork, scan your cards to the site, and cards are held safely in the secure vault. Their 5% sales commission is one of the lowest in the industry. Currently, they are looking for rookie and prospect cards, and now they also are accepting graded cards as well. If you're interested in selling on the site, please email Mike at the following email address: mike@starstock.com. So let's talk about, how did the whole Topps Project 2020 and Matt Taylor, how did that thing all kind of come about?
Well, it came in the way a lot of my jobs do nowadays, through my agent, who is one of my favourite people in the world. Yeah. Because I only signed up with him last June, so only just over a year ago now. And his name's Aaron. He works in an agency called Attribute, based out of New York, who represent just an absolute murderous row of talent. Yeah. And he just dropped me an email one day saying Topps have got in touch, and they sent over a brief which was kind of outlining the project, which was they wanted 20 artists to interpret 20 classic cards, and would I like to be involved? And I kind of had a quick look down it, and it sounded fun. Yeah. And that's always gonna kind of pique my interest when a project sounds fun. I'd say it probably comes above sort of what the budget on something is. Mm-hmm. That's my kind of first criteria, is do I actually want to do this? Yeah. And if I do, then I'll read a little bit further, because projects come in that aren't. They just don't feel like they're right, or and sometimes you have to take them because the budget means you can't say no. Yeah. But it's nice to be able to look at something and think, okay, do I want to do this? Am I going to be able to really bring my A game on this? Am I going to do work that I'm proud of? And this one just piqued my interest. So, it didn't hurt that they already put in there a list of the artists they'd be talking to. So Grotesque, I mentioned before, I've loved his work for years. His name was on there, and Mr. Cartoon, whose work I came to know through the sneakers, the laser etched sneakers of Nike about 10, 15 years ago. Who else was on there? I'm trying to think now. I think Keith Shaw was on there.
Yep.
And like as a big fan of Michelob beers, I saw his name, and so you see these kind of 3 or 4 names, and you think, oh, okay, these are good artists. Like, these are like big respected artists, and so I like instantly think, and me too. Like, do I sit alongside these? And I wasn't going to question it because they were asking me. So Sophia Chang, that was the other. Sophia Chang was on this, and I love her work. So I said to my agent, let's investigate a little further, and it was pretty simple. Like, as far as projects go, you know, they had a very definite idea of what they wanted, and they had the 20 cards selected. So I've had a look at them and see what I was going to be drawing. And it's because the project's running the whole year, and the delivery time was, we're delivering. Well, I'm not sure whether to speak for other artists, but I'm delivering a card about every 2.5 weeks at the moment. Yeah. So the prospect of like a regular job that was going to run for like 8 months, and I'd have to do 2 cards a month, and the nice thing about baseball cards is they're quite small. Yeah. So it's not, the posters that I do are kind of 24 by 36 inch pieces, and they're huge. Some of them take literally months to draw, but the baseball cards, like the format of them really appealed because they're nice little kind of densely intricate pieces, but they can't get too busy because they're small. Yeah. And so I thought, this feels like it could work. So, I said yes and hoped that Topps remained interested, and they did. And then, we got the kickoff email, and there was a little delay, obviously, because it was kind of being briefed around the time that the coronavirus started spreading. So there was a little bit of kind of uncertainty at the beginning about when it was all going to start. But then once the first card launched, it just it's been crazy. Yeah, it's been I call it a phenomenon, I don't want to speak for you. I'll let you answer this question. You mentioned, when you get an offer to work, the parallel I kind of drew in hearing you explain that, it's sort of like an actor or an actress gets a script and they kind of read it over, and they have to be, has to interest them. They got to feel like it's something that they want to do, can do a good job with it. So hearing you kind of explain it in that way, that's immediately kind of what I thought of as like an actor with a script determining whether they want to be in do this movie or not. And for you, are you? I'll put you on the spot. Are you a big sports fan, or is it something different is also kind of enticing as well, coming out of your kind of comfort zone? I would say I'm a relatively big sports fan. I used to follow basketball, and I'm going to call it American football, but football was when I was younger. Yeah. I used to play football as well when I was younger, so that was kind of around the time I was following it. I played basketball and football and watched them as well. I follow soccer fairly extensively in the UK. Yeah. Baseball was not something that I really had any knowledge of much at all, but the way I looked at it was, what really excited me about this project was the fact that Topps, so even in the initial email briefing, they showed us, I'm not 100% sure if it was the exact 20 cards which are being done, but they certainly had 20 cards selected. Yeah. And the fact that it was a reinterpretation really, really, really interested me, because outside of any kind of knowledge or experience of the world of baseball, I could just purely on an aesthetic level look at these things and think, okay, how am I going to interpret this? And that I found really interesting. Yeah. And I think that was what spoke to me most about the project, actually, was the prospect of it's like remixing something, I guess, like a musician would remix a song, because the bare bones of the cards already existed. And I think it's sort of fair that a lot of the artists have kind of struck pretty close to the format of the cards. I mean, obviously, Don C has been kind of like going out there a little bit. I always pronounce it wrong, but like Old Man Allen. With his, I think that's how you say it. Yeah, I'm never sure because I've only seen it written down. I don't know if it's like Old Man Allen or Old Man Allen. I think like art, it's any way you want to interpret it. But he's been doing something really interesting with the kind of consistent format, but the using different photos, and so they have a very specific feel. But other than those, they've all felt very close in that they have really respected and stuck to the original, the card in terms of the format and content. And yeah, just getting that like initial vibe of I really want to have a go at this.
Yeah,
kind of sold it to me. And I think, especially with a project of this scale, where it was going to be 8 months of work, I wanted to be 100% sure that I wasn't going to, around about card 3 or 4, start thinking, I shouldn't have done this.
because you got 17 more to go.
I can't bail out halfway through.
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing this till the end of the year, and there's nothing worse than getting kind of halfway through a project and just thinking, oh, this was a mistake.
Yeah.
I should be doing this. But, still wanting to do something good. It makes drawing a grind, and I'm lucky enough that I get to do the thing that I love for my job.
Yeah.
And the downside is that then when it's not working for whatever reason, it really sucks.
Yeah.
Because, I feel like I should be enjoying this, and I'm not. Like, I'm not enjoying the thing I enjoy because of this work, and it kind of makes you hate drawing for a little while. Yeah,
well, I got to say, I think you've done 7 or 8 with your Jackie Robinson came out today, I believe, at the time of this interview. Yeah. I'm originally from Brooklyn, Matt, and so Jackie Robinson to me is huge. Anyone that's listened to this podcast has heard this story before, but as a kid growing up in Brooklyn, every essay, every book report, or anything I had to write pertaining to an actual person always was Jackie Robinson, to the point teachers would tell me ahead of time, because they already knew, like, John, you're going to have to pick someone else other than Jackie Robinson. And that was the only time I wouldn't do him, was when I was mandated, you did him too much already, pick someone else, please, type of deal. So I saw your Jackie today. Phenomenal, very well done. I got to be honest with you, all the Jackies I've seen so far have been great, and yours now joins that list. But you've done 7 other ones. I wrote them down so I didn't miss any. You've done Frank Thomas, Clemente, Derek Jeter, Tony Gwynn, Ken Griffey Jr., Ricky Henderson, and Cal Ripken. I wanted to talk to you. Now, they're all great. Don't get me. I wanted to mention 2 in particular with the Gwynn and Ripken, I believe. They sort of have like a floral kind of tone. There's some flowers. I just kind of wanted to pick your brain, like, what was, where were you going, or kind of what was your mindset with that, or was it just something that just sometimes just flows?
I'm trying to think about those 2 specifically. I mean, I'll kind of talk about those specifically, but it's easier to talk about the way that I approached each card, or like the card is in general. Is trying to get it makes more sense that way. So for each one, I obviously wanted to have like a central thing, which is like just a great drawing, like a great drawing of the player.
Yeah.
But obviously, on all the cards, there's like a lot of space around that, so you can just have a great drawing of the player. So I tried to find something that kind of tangentially spoke to something about either the team or the location or the time period, and it's a bit kind of scattershot. So for one, it will be like, so the Jeter one, which is my first card, like the background is an Art Deco, a kind of Art Deco baseball diamond, because I was thinking about New York. When I think about New York, I think about the Empire State Building. So I was thinking about the lobby, kind of Art Deco styling, and it's like, okay, well, that sort of connects to me, so I'm going to do that. And then Ricky Henderson, because the card was an 80s card, that kind of spoke to like an 80s style kind of like fading graphic. And so by the time we got to Tony Gwynn, I felt a little like I'd fallen into a rut, but the few before that had felt like I was just sort of repeating themes and patterns. And I didn't really want to do that.
Yeah.
Because I thought, coming back to what I said about wanting to enjoy the project, I didn't want to fall into a groove of just doing the same thing over and over, because it would be boring to me, and I feel like that would translate to cards that maybe people didn't enjoy as much. So with Tony Gwynn, I thought about San Diego, and San Diego has quite a rich Mexican community and heritage. And the team's called the Padres. And so I looked at kind of Mexican folk arts, which features a lot of very kind of like floral decoration, or some of it features floral decoration, and that, for whatever reason, kind of spoke to me. So that was that was kind of the origin of that design. And at a certain point, I kind of just got carried away with the florals.
Yeah. Well, I think it works. I mean, I'm asking you not in I hope you didn't take it this way, not in a negative fashion. I just didn't, hearing you explain that makes all the sense in the world. It just, and that's the beauty of art, is you can look at a piece of art, in this case, card art, and not like it, but not even know really what the angle the artist was going for. I like it. I'm not sure what the backstory is, and then you learn, and as we will in this case, hearing you explain it, and you like it even more, because it wasn't like there was a method to your madness, a rhyme to your, a rhyme to your reason, and hearing you say that, just kind of, lets us, the listener, me interviewing you here, kind of get inside your head a little bit as to, where you were going with it. And, as I said already, just tremendous. And they're all been good. The Jackie being my guy, whenever they come out, I'm always curious, and everyone, including yours today, has been, to me, a home run. And believe me, I would be probably one of the most critical, being a huge Jackie guy. And it's not, when you look at that card, the original card, it's not, it's just a big facial close up of him. There's there's like you said, there's actually not a lot of room on that one to add a lot of other elements or things, your own spin on it. Yet everyone, including yourself, has done, to me, a brilliant job with maybe less canvas, if you will, have used that less canvas in the best possible ways. And today's yours, definitely impressive. So, not that you need me to congratulate you, but congratulations there.
Well, it's always nice to hear that people like it, because, when you're kind of working for yourself, and especially at the moment, like, we're all working from home, either on our own, or, you don't have a lot of interaction with people, and so you do this stuff kind of in a vacuum.
Yeah.
I'll show sketches to friends to kind of get a vibe for whether it's working or not, but it's like other illustrators, so you never know until it's out there if it's gonna click with people. And Jackie, like, it felt like it was quite a big card, it felt for me, because again, like, I'm not hugely knowledgeable about baseball, but I did know Jackie Robinson, kind of what he represented, and I wanted to really do that one justice. And I mean, for that one, just he's got he looks so happy. He's got such a great face, and he looks so happy. So I almost kind of stripped it further back, because in the original card, he's kind of got his bat on his shoulder, and it's like a slightly, it is zoomed out a little bit. But I just wanted to draw his face as big as possible, and just like make him the absolute centerpiece of the card. And just try and so the red on the card is as close as I could get to the red that's the background of the original one. So it's just like little things like that other people probably won't notice. It appeals to me, my sense of sort of trying to kind of little silly things that'll kind of keep me happy while I'm doing it.
Well done from a huge Jackie Robinson fan for what that's worth, and there'll be a few of those in my personal collection as well. So that's always a good thing. Sports Card Nation will be right back. Pastime Marketplace offers a line of durable graded card cases made for collectors who want high-quality graded card storage that is virtually indestructible. Their cases are waterproof, dustproof, airtight, and designed to protect your valuable collection. Check them all out at www.pastimemarketplace.com. Protect your best with the best. We are back with Matt Taylor. And another thing about the project, Matt, that I personally enjoy, and I think it's a great thing, is, the international of it. You got yourself in the UK, you got Ermsey in France, you got Tyson Beck in Australia, and I hope I didn't miss anybody. I might have. But I mean, just right there is a good 25-30% of all the commissioned artists are, other than here in the United States. And I think, number one, I think that's important to recognize that, art has no borders and is happening the world is art, and it happens all over in every country and in every corner of the world. And as many great artists as we might have here in the States, there's artists all over the world, and some we probably don't even know about. And so the fact that Topps or whoever made that call and incorporated people not just in the United States, I applaud that. I just getting your thoughts as someone who's in the UK on that aspect of it.
Yeah, I think it's great, the fact that they've kind of reached out and really tried to get a kind of interesting and diverse section of artists in terms of like style. You've got people like Mr. Cartoon, who are, who's a tattoo artist primarily, and then guys like Grotesque, who are very design oriented, and then Tyson and Blake, who are far more kind of painterly in their approach. F-Dot does amazing kind of graffiti. It's a really kind of broad spectrum. I think that means that there's something for everyone.
Yeah.
I hope that means there's something for everyone. Like, I know not everyone's going to love my cards. I also know that not everybody loves Keith Shaw's cards.
Yeah.
And, I think I would rather there was something like this where you have really distinctive artistic voices that aren't going to appeal to everyone, but the people that they do appeal to are going to love them.
Yeah.
And, you've got 20 different voices, and I'd be amazed if somebody didn't find something in one of those artists that they liked. And, I don't think that this project is about collecting all 400 cards. I mean, respect to those who are doing that, because it's a big financial undertaking. But I love the way that it's arranged so that, collectors can get a player they like, or they can get an artist they like, or they can get some kind of combination of the two, or they can follow. Like, there's definitely a couple of Dodgers players, so you could just get the Dodgers. Get Robinson. I've drawn Sandy Koufax.
Yep, Koufax. Yep.
Koufax. Okay, which I don't know was going to be released yet, because I think it's going to be moved around in the schedule. But so there's two Dodgers players there. So maybe you just want to buy the Dodgers players, and it's a really interesting and well thought out project, and there are so many ways to enjoy it.
Yeah, there's you touched on them too, Matt. Is there you could do it either by teams, you could do it even by an era, you can do it by artist, you can do it by player. If you're like, for me, when all is said and done, I'm going to definitely have 20 different Jackie Robinsons. But I also have other ones too. I don't want to make it sound like I'm just buying the Jackies, but that's my guy. So I'm gonna at least have one of every one of those when everything is all said and done. But whatever angle you may be coming from, it's not just relegated to one style. Much like you said with the artists bringing all different styles, there's different ways to collect it for the hobbyist as well. And that's the beauty of this whole project, is no matter what angle you kind of take, you're not wrong and someone's not right. It's to each their sort of own, however they want to collect the art and the cards themselves.
Yeah, it's a great thing to be involved in. Like, I'm over the moon that I got asked to take part in it, and I'm enjoying it more every card I do. It's funny you mentioned the Tony Gwynn one.
Yeah.
Because it was slightly different. I actually did a different Tony Gwynn one, and I sent it in to the art directors on the project. And I sat with it for a few days, and I just wasn't really feeling it.
Yeah.
And so then I went back and did this one, and suddenly it almost felt like at that point it kind of clicked, and I thought, oh, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to do more. And the Cal Ripken one, which was the next card I did after that, again, I feel like was a continuation of that. So I feel from kind of Tony Gwynn onwards, I'm really trying to like top each card. Like the Sandy one is great, and I'm kind of bummed that it's maybe not going to be released for a little while, because I think it turned out really nicely.
Yeah.
And the Jackie Robinson, again, I had like really nice feedback. Actually, that's something I kind of want to be like very enthusiastic about, is the collectors on this who've been getting in touch on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, have just been so enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And it's really like encouraging and heartening when you do a project like this, which is so kind of public facing. And because I do a book cover, I'll get an okay from my art director, the author, and maybe there'll be a few like tweets where someone's found it or posted on Instagram saying, "Hey, it's a cool book cover." But a project like this, where you are putting it into people's hands and you're kind of requiring them to go out and buy it and get involved, to have such positive, enthusiastic response has been great. Like my Twitter has been borderline unmanageable since this project started, because every time there's a new card, there's just a whole flood of retweets and messages, and people talking about what they like and don't like, and it's great. It's kind of put me in touch with a whole new base of fans who, I don't know, I hope will look at this and maybe they'll go and start checking out my movie posters or books I've done the covers for, and find more art that they like.
Yeah, I think that is going. I think it is happening already. I think it will happen even more in the future. And it's nice that kind of the two worlds sort of merge together, the art world and the card world. And I think people in the hobby are being exposed to art, and I think people in the art world are being exposed to cards as little pieces of. I've always looked at as someone who opened their first pack of cards at 7 years old. I always looked at these cards as little works of art in their own way. Just the photography aspect itself, Matt. And so it's nice to see these two worlds kind of collide in a positive fashion, and people being, their horizons kind of open up to maybe something that wouldn't have prior, both ways, art to hobby and hobby to the art world. And I think when this is done in December and the dust kind of settles, and we really take a step back and look at it, I think that's going to be one of the things we look back. I've said on this show too, obviously no one wanted the pandemic to occur. It has, we can't go back in time and change anything. But, I think the timing of this project, honestly, and obviously it was more luck or coincidence than purposeful, but the timing of it couldn't be better, with a lot of people being home, maybe a little bit unhappy with things going on. This kind of brought a little joy to those folks, and a little bit of an outlet to kind of get your mind off of real world current events, a little enjoyment out of some maybe darker times. And I think that's another thing, and I'll let you talk to it. I think years from now, Matt, when we look back, and obviously hopefully years from now where that pandemic's in the rearview mirror, but we'll look back at this time, well, with the Topps 2020 project and it going on during the pandemic times. But this will be a bright spot of a not so great time in world history. I think this project will be a highlight of what is not a good thing going on.
I hope so. I mean, and it's still like, we're not even halfway through this project.
Yeah.
It's been such a roller coaster so far. I mean, Keith Shaw selling 100,000 copies of his, Ben Baller throwing diamond chains in things. It's I don't know where it's going to go. I mean, it's going till November, and in some ways, because of everything that's happening, the year's sort of flown by. Like, I can't believe it's July already.
Yeah.
And November, sort of, on the one hand, feels like a long, long way away, but also I feel like it could zip by.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I hope that this has just brought some positivity to people, or brought something positive to people, that people have been able to get a bit distracted from the horrors of everything by, getting... Yeah, I've read messages of people who said, they've kind of got back into baseball cards because of this.
Yeah.
Great, and that's something you enjoy and something you get pleasure from, then that's a great thing at the moment. I think we all need something we can get pleasure from at the moment, and if this is that to some people, my only aim as an artist, because I know art doesn't really... I know my art won't change the world particularly, which isn't to say that art doesn't, because there is great art that does, change, but I just hope that, someone will see it and it will make them smile, or some kid will look at it and think, when I was young, just think, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And, if in all of this project has done that for people, if people have seen these cards, and I've seen fans who've been kind of doing their own interpretations of the cards and kind of posting them on Facebook groups, and like that's cool.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, the art for all these cards is out there in the world because they are existing cards, so it's not hard to get like the base cards that they're based off of, and it's if it brings some happiness, then it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm concerned.
I think it has, and you bring up another great point. It's funny you mention it because it's come up even in some of my other interviews with the artists. You never know that kid, that 7, 8, 9-year-old boy or girl that sees that Matt Taylor card. Maybe they collect cards, but they see that Matt Taylor Project 2020 card. Maybe they're already doodling or painting, and maybe they're a little bit lacking a little bit of self-confidence, or I enjoy doing this, but it'll never really turn into anything, and they're in the hobby already, but they see that Matt Taylor card and say, hey, I'm not that good now, but if I keep practicing and work on this, and maybe I can do that, and maybe I can be in Project 2035, and you never know. And, 10, 12 years from now, 15 years from now, you might hear somebody, a 20-year-old, 30-year-old artist say, I got my start. I dabbled at home in a sketchbook, but I saw, Matt Taylor's Tony Gwynn, and that really inspired me to really put my nose to the grindstone, and I decided this is something I wanted to pursue. This it's a passion that made me really jump in and pursue it, and that'll be the biggest compliment you probably can really ever get, or one of them. And
oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the goal. If that happens, then I will consider it all to have been worthwhile.
Yeah.
As long as I can, obviously keep a roof over my head and, make sure my kids are taken care of, and, that's the primary concern. And then after that, it's just, I want someone else to see something I drew and just think, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe I can do that. I always try and, when people get in touch on, social media and ask for advice, I try and always do my best to answer if I can. It's not really always easy because there's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do have drawings to do, but, I kind of got encouraging words from artists I love. And, honestly, I still do. I still don't consider myself good enough, and I'll see artists who I love and drop them a message just to say, how did you do that thing?
Yeah.
Drawing, because I don't know how you did it, and I want to do that.
Yeah.
And I have so many nice messages back, and it's as nice as weird because then you find out that they already know who your work is, or they already know who you are and the work you do, and it's like, wait, but you're good, and I'm just me over here doing this nonsense. So you're like a proper artist.
And then one of the other artists is thinking the same thing with you in reverse. How am I in the same boat with Matt Taylor here? Yeah. And then that's a beautiful thing. And like you said, it drives you. Like each card you do, you want to do better than the one before. I've said this on the show. One of my things with even the podcast, not to compare podcasting to being an artist, but obviously you want every show to be better than the previous one. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. You got to take the good with the bad, but if you give it your best effort, that's all you can really do. And one more quick break, and we'll be back with Matt Taylor. Let me tell you about Iron Sports Cards and Collectibles. They're your number one source for all your PSA and now SGC submissions. They offer various service levels at the lowest prices around. They even provide the card savers your cards need to be submitted at no extra charge. Their elite status helps improve turnaround times, and their chat rooms keep you abreast of your subs and the status of your cards. What are you waiting for? Contact Rob on Facebook on Iron Sports Card Group. That's Iron Sports Card Group on Facebook. Or get a hold of Rob on Twitter at Iron Sports Cards. All one word, at Iron Sports Cards. They'll take care of you. Sports Card Nation is back. I got to ask you, too, and I asked this to every person that's been part of the project that's been on, and it's been about 50-50, the answers on this. And the question is, how much after your cards get released, how much attention do you pay to them as far as on the secondary market, what prices realized and all that, or do you tend not just focus on, hey, I'm on to my next card or my next work, and
Well, I'd be lying if I said I hadn't, because I come up through doing posters, and the movie posters I do really have a huge secondary market life. And so I always try and stay aware of that, purely from a practical point of view, because I often have copies of my own to sell, and I kind of need to know how they're doing, so I know that I'm not pricing them too high or too low. So with baseball cards, it's kind of inbuilt that because I know there is a secondary market, I'm going to have a look at it, and obviously during the wild weeks of I think it was June, when the aftermarket on this project went absolutely crazy, and there was one week when my Ken Griffey went up from $20 to $500 in a week. And I was slightly freaking out that week, because I still hadn't got any of my because I'm going to do some artist signed cards, what all the other artists are doing, and I hadn't got mine in, and I kind of had a figure in my head for how much I wanted to sell them for, and then suddenly blank base cards are selling for $500. I'm thinking, well, I can't sell my signed cards for less. I can't sign them for more than that, because that's ludicrous. It's a baseball. So I'm kind of glad it's settled down a bit now. It feels more, after that kind of crazy 2 weeks, it feels more realistic now, which is nice. And yeah, it's always good to know. But I don't really judge a card by its print run or its kind of value on the secondary market, because that's very much out of your hands. And I think if that is how you judge the success of something as an artist, you're sort of setting yourself up for a fall, because unless you're Keith, who is going to have the number one spot for a while, I'd imagine. If someone else beats that, then well done to them. And the same with Ben Baller, who's been doing great print runs and all of his. But if you judge your cards like that, then you're probably going to end up disappointing yourself. So it interests me just because I'm curious to know how they're doing. Whether it's worth holding on to a couple of my cards for 5 years down the line so I can sell them on eBay. But other than that, it's just kind of idle curiosity, really. So I try not to let it affect the design process, because again, it would be quite easy to look at, say, what's my top selling card been, and should I do the rest of my cards like that because that one did better than the others? And then as soon as you start second guessing yourself, you're in trouble. You've just got to try and go with your gut instinct for what to do.
Be yourself. Be yourself, and be true to what you want to do in yourself, and kudos to you, Matt, for being honest. I appreciate that, saying, hey, I do, because I'll be honest with you, if I was you better believe I would check that stuff out too. And you're right, sometimes we put too much stock in print runs or prices realized, and this is artwork. You can't really, there's so many different styles. You can't, I might look at one card and say, man, I like that card better than that card. Someone else might be the reverse. So you can't judge it just by print runs and dollar signs, and it's refreshing to hear you acknowledge that. And I think it's so true. I hope everyone else, and especially the artists involved also, I'm sure most do, kind of take that approach, because I think print runs, while they're nice to kind of track and analyze and chart and all that fun stuff, they don't really tell the real story, the true story. That is just people purchasing it. I think sometimes it might even take away from the work that you guys and Sophia Chang are putting into the project. We put too much emphasis on that. You guys, everyone for the most part is working hard, and to just chalk that up to an arbitrated number like that and say, well, that's better based on sales. I don't think that's fair to the artist. Truthfully, I don't think it's accurate anyway. So it's nice to hear you say that.
Yeah, and there are people who are buying these as an investment, and that's a totally legit way to collect cards as well. If you're doing it as an investment thing, then things like the prices and the print runs, they matter to you. But if you're just buying them for because you love the art or because you love the player, then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And it's always nice, to like I buy art because I love art, and I've got pieces which have appreciated in value over the years I've had them, and it's kind of nice to know, okay, well, if I get in a jam, then I can sell that one, and that will kind of get me out of a hole. But you never really want to.
Yeah.
I hope that
it's sort of like in case of emergency, break glass type of deal.
Yeah, exactly. And I hope a lot of people are just buying these just because they love them, and if they have to sell them a few years down the line and they're worth money, then great. If that gets someone out of a hole, that's good. But yeah, the whole side of buying stuff as an investment isn't something that's for me. But I appreciate people do it and respect if that's their thing going in. Then
now I heard you mention Koufax. Is that the next one people can expect or no?
No, I've done it, but it's not coming out yet. Like a George Brett.
Okay, so next one's George Brett. What's the date on that for you?
At the moment, it looks like it's going to be, let's see, around the end of the month. I'm not sure exactly. It'll be about 2 weeks.
Okay.
We're roughly 2 week schedule. I know in the beginning it was a bit up and down because some artists had more cards in. My first one was Derek Jeter, and there was a behind the scenes delay on, I think, some of the Jeter cards being released. So some of the artists had 2 come out before I had 1, but I think we're all caught up now.
Yeah.
But that's the next one for me. The Sandy card was originally due to be released, I think, this month, but the schedules are kind of constantly around. So that one's in the bank now, which is great, and it'll drop eventually. It's a good one. Like I'm really proud of it. I drew part of Ebbetsfield.
I love it. I love it already.
Again, I went a bit hard deco on this one. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm just looking at it now. Actually, I've got them up on my screen while I'm talking to you. I think people dig it. Yeah.
So George Brett, the end of July, and then Sandy Koufax coming soon.
So I usually get my assignments sort of on a monthly basis. They'll say, okay, these are the 2 or 3 cards you got dropping this month, and deadlines for art to come in. So it's nice. I tend to, because the thing is, theoretically, I could just do them all right now. Yeah. And then just send them in. But I quite like a more sort of like a more urgent deadline, because it kind of refocuses the mind. Yeah. Okay, let's just go all in on this and do it today, which is quite a nice way to approach a project like this. Yeah. Well, you don't need me to tell you this, but tremendous work on the 8 cards that have been released. Very impressive. Look forward to obviously George Brett next, and the rest of the 11 after Brett to come, including Koufax. I always give my guest Matt kind of the final words. Anywhere people can see your website, any social media handles where they can find you, buy your stuff, see your stuff, and all that. The floor is yours. Okay, well, I'm kind of everywhere on social media. Facebook and Twitter are the main ones I tend to use to stay in touch with people. You can find me at Matt Taylor Draws, it's all one word, on both of those. I do my best to reply to direct messages and tweets, but like sometimes, especially when cards release, it gets a bit overwhelming. Yeah. MattTaylor.co.uk is my website, which is kind of like my portfolio, but it has a link through to my shop in there. So far, I haven't released any autographed artist-signed cards, basically because they're shipping all the way from the US to here. Yeah. I'm kind of waiting to have them all in hand before I do that. And also, like, I've had other work on, so I haven't really had time to sit down and sign them. So they're going to be coming out. I think I'm going to be releasing them in batches. So I've got Frank Thomas, Jeter, Ken Griffey, and 2. I've only got 2, Ricky Henderson, because I totally spaced on buying any of my own cards. Don't feel bad that you're not the first artist to say that. So so they're going to be coming out sometime in the next couple weeks, I would say. But I will make sure to shout about it on Twitter and Instagram before they drop. So those are the 2 best places to follow me, and there'll be links everywhere. Like, I'm not hard to find on social media at all. Well, Matt, I appreciate you giving. I know you're busy, as you just mentioned right there. I appreciate you giving the podcast a little time, allowing us to pick your brain a little bit on some of the inside of the cards and the project, and continued work.
stay healthy, stay safe as well. And again, thanks again.
Thank you. You too, man. Thank you very much for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome. Time to announce our weekly winner in the One of One Card Shop $25 break credit giveaway. And the winner is Scissortail Cards. Scissortail Cards has won this week's $25 break credit from 101 Card Shop. Congratulations, Scissortail Cards.
The eerie, inescapable truth. People really win
on SCNP. All right, that's going to bring another episode of Sports Card Nation to a close. I hope you enjoyed the show. Again, I want to give a shout out and thanks to Matt Taylor from the UK joining the program, letting us in a little bit of his world and the world of the Topps 2020 project. And really good guy. You know, again, I know I've said this a lot of times, but you know, all the artists that I've interviewed on this project have been sensational, very accommodating, and obviously very talented. And it's been a real pleasure to interview them. I hope there's a few more left, and some of the ones that I've had on, I like to bring back towards the end of the year as the project is coming down the home stretch. So you'll hear from more of them either soon or at the conclusion of the project itself. I'll keep the closing short. Thank you for listening to the show. Thank you for following us on social media. Thank you for the feedback and the positive reviews. I know we're well over we're over 100 reviews, a 4.8 rating out of 5, and to know that, you know, we're making that sort of impact, and you know, people like the show, and you can't ask for much more than that. And let us know what you think. We're here for you. This is your show. Remember, Hobby Hotline, Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern, Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern. I haven't been on lately, just some scheduling issues, and the week I was supposed to be on, an interview came up that I couldn't pass up, so I had to reschedule. But if you're listening to the show on this show release Friday, you will see me on Hobby Hotline tomorrow, Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern. Hope to see you there. Call in, ask questions, put me on the hot seat, whatever you need to do. So that's another show where that's your show. So with that being said, we'll put a bow tie on this thing and remind you to remember, the hobby is the people, the hobby is you.